All right, so we're going to go over times of the year when conditioning for your baseball athlete is a little bit more relevant or important. So we're going to kind of follow the school schedule here. So if we look at the fall, and strictly talking about fall high school season, the games, quite frankly, don't matter. They don't count towards a record, or you're not fighting for a state championship, that sort of thing. They're usually used in a development sense. Usually, a lot of younger guys will get more playing time. Your major players, major pitchers aren't going to play as much as they normally would. And it's the truest sense of quote unquote off season as you're going to get at any point in the year. So if there was a time where you want to add as much aerobic conditioning, build your aerobic base, the fall season would be number one spot, right? That is going to be the time where it's least detrimental to your athlete and actually can be used as some benefit, especially to your older guys. As we transition to the winter, right, fall and travel games will be over, and we're going to start to, as we get closer and closer to January, which is when high school and travel tryouts are, you want to start to taper and prep as much as you can for those. So then the emphasis should be on as much speed and power as you can. Now, that's not to say we're not going to do any conditioning, but as I said, you want to taper down. So as we get closer to the middle of December, towards Christmas and the new year, you really want to start to eliminate your aerobic conditioning and really start adding in and really emphasizing the max effort sprints and just max effort anything, throws, lifting, that kind of stuff in general to produce as much output as you can. As we move to the spring, the actual spring baseball season, the end all be all point is to win as many games as possible, right? You're trying to win a state championship and win at all costs. So the whole point is you want to keep your guys as fresh as possible. So conditioning isn't going to do that. In fact, it's going to dull them out. It's going to make them less explosive. It's going to make them slower, that sort of thing. So conditioning also will not help with any baseball skill, meaning it's not going to help your guys field a ground ball. It's not going to help them turn a double play. It's not going to help them hit any better. So using that as a form of mental toughness or punishment for a couple of errors in a game, or maybe you're not hitting as well during a week, that kind of thing. It's just not. It's not going to help, right? It doesn't have anything to do with those skills, and it can actually lead to injury. So the reason I say that is if you're constantly conditioning in season, like I said before, you're making your athletes slower, fatigued, less explosive, that sort of thing. And if the player is asked to, let's say make a play in the hole, and they have to, quick twitch, speed, elasticity, that kind of thing, involved in that play. If their body's fatigued, if their muscles are fatigued, and they're asked to make that play suddenly, the risk of injury substantially goes up. Now, obviously, it's not guaranteed that injury can occur, but the percentages go way up if they are in a fatigue state, which is, again, why you want your guys to be as fresh as possible. A, so they can make the play in general, and B, to avoid or mitigate injury risk as much as possible. And then as we transition to the summer, it's going to be the biggest recruiting period and the most time where you're going to be playing, showcases, camps, right? That's usually the bulk of where that comes in. So again, the emphasis on that time should be speed and power to really impress at those instances. So if we were to list these in order, fall would be the number one time where we would put in some sort of aerobic conditioning. Number two would be the winter, but again, it is technically the off season, but as we start to get closer to tryout time, that really needs to taper down, because ultimately 60 time, throwing velocity, pitching velocity, those all matter as we get towards tryouts, and conditioning doesn't help with any of those. You need to be doing max effort stuff. Number three would be the summer. Again, not a great time to do it because you need to perform, especially for colleges at that time. So that wouldn't really be great. And then number four is the absolute worst time. So in season, you do not want your guys tired and fatigued. Now, if you want to do it once every couple of weeks, once every month, just to hit on that, hit on the conditioning component, that's fine. But your absolute emphasis needs to be on max effort sprints, max effort power, those sorts of things to stay as fresh as you can. Hope this helps.